Like, I think we are live. I'm going to change my settings. Hey guys, well, I changed the settings here real quick to make sure that we are not just airing to friends, but we're airing to the world publicly. I would love to hear where you guys are from, what city, what state, what country, where everyone is while we get started here. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton-Sehon, and I'm here with the great, legendary, beautiful, brilliant, my friend Laura Eisenhower. And we're going to just chat a little bit tonight for about 30, 40 minutes before we get Juan on. And just going to get some updates here. You've been on the road, Laura. And you have quite a bit of some things to share, some upcoming things, and then you have just some things on your heart that you would like to share. And I would love to hear what you have to say.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I took a recent trip to visit my father who turned 80, and he met up with my sister in Florida, and I met up with them there. And she just moved to Florida from Brazil. She's lived there for 20 some odd years, 20 years or so, and is a part of a really incredible thing. And I'm not going to really go into it, but yeah, so there's a lot of online events coming up. I do have a workshop on Sunday or April 4th. I do believe that's on Sunday, and it's from 12 Pacific time to 3 p.m. So it's like 3 hours. And I'm really excited about it because there's just more information to share and how it's relevant to the times that we're in. The global grid networks and systems, the mind control connected with that, the dark technologies that have been put in place, that they have specific times to really amp up in times of heightened opportunities for humans to progress and begin to awaken. So as these opportunities arise on an organic level, these attacks increase. So it's kind of like going into like the global grid network system, the history of that, and what it targets, and how to overcome it, how to really just begin to understand what our junk DNA is, and how to unscramble the fire codes, and how and why the fire codes stay so scrambled. And a lot of, this kind of stuff people know without having to know, but it's good to be reminded. I think people are just like, it's so much to process what's going on right now. So I'll go into the astrology and also the spectrum of frequency, how much is actually available to us that we are being conditioned to think isn't there. So, this mass sort of masking of the human race is a perfect example, like the main big example of how much people don't know about what's actually available and who we truly are and what we're made of. So there's a lot of pictures and things to be able to look at, and you'll be able to replay and have it to replay as you wish and like, and you can share it with your friends and family. And that link is on my website, cosmicgaia.org. If you scroll down, you'll see a picture and it says online event, April 4th. And yeah, you can, have constant replay. So even if you can't show up, you can purchase it. And I've been doing presentations for a really long time, and I don't like to just say the same thing over and over again. But a lot of stuff, it's like impossible to not reiterate because of what it means and represents. But the reason I'm really focusing on the global grid system is because the reversal technologies that harvest and siphon our life force through these different, kinds of programmings, they have actual overlays on the organic grid network. And so I have, a lot of pictures to help people to kind of see, and the different sort of creatures and animals and archetypes that are used, to create this sort of reversal system. And it's interesting looking at people's astrology charts, because you can actually see where a person might be in this kind of inability to move forward and progress because they aren't willing to go through the initiations that are presenting themselves, and they're choosing to give their power away and have somebody else kind of do it for them. And you can see in a person's chart, where the Saturn moon matrix and where the outer planets and the initiatory planets are really not working for them. And that level of recognition and understanding can actually help to correct it. So I also kind of go into the corrections of the Venus transits and how it's helped to reverse the Baphomet inverted pentagram kind of energies, and where we haven't had access to the ether and our energetic circulation hasn't really been working for us. And that's why we're very vulnerable to things like illnesses and sickness. And the fear surrounding it is also the fear of our own power and our greater abilities, because we're not being given permission. We're so used to saying yes to an authority figure or needing the validation from an authority figure, to the point where we forget that we have an intuition and an ability to navigate these times in greater capacities than we can begin to imagine. So it's a fun thing. I love doing presentations because it actually really helps me. I'm like, oh yeah, I remind myself of this kind of stuff,
Yeah, I mean, and what a better time right now, because I'm hearing okay, let me see if I take this off, if that's better. Is it still doing it? No, it's gone now. Okay. What a better time, because oh my God, I don't know. I'd love to hear from everyone watching and what's going on. Like, if anyone else is having these kind of ebbs and flows kind of deal. I was talking to Laura earlier off camera, because we, thank God, for family and friends and people that we can talk to, or I would be insane. But I'm just hoping that through whatever it is that we're going through in this birth process, awakening, resurrection, all the different ways you want to call it, Lazarus, that it kind of, hopefully we're spiraling up, even though it feels like we kind of did this already, and like, aren't we still here? And like, hopefully there's some traction where it's not doing this, but we're hopefully doing this. And
toilet bowl going down.
Yeah, right. And speaking of toilet bowl, I talked to Robert Stevens, who's a dear friend of mine, and he always talks about just like, say whatever's going on, get it out, and then flush it. Because if we just stay in that OCD thinking about like, oh my God, this or that, or they said this, or someone posted that, or someone came on my wall and comment. I mean, people are just getting so brave, I think, in social media specifically, to just say whatever comes in their thoughts, and just post, text, whatever, and have like literal no consequences or cause and effect whatsoever to their minds. I mean, there is a cause and effect energetically, but I think people are just like, oh, not really thinking, and or some of it's very intentional and very pointed and not so nice, and it's not it's not good. It's not good for any of us.
It's not.
There seems to be an increase, at least I'm seeing it, and it's kind of sad, because a lot of it is in between people that are supposed to be working together and helping each other, and I think that's such a distraction for the collective. And it's a great way to take our eye off the ball of what the real focus is, can you speak into that? I mean,
yeah, it's kind of affecting me, and I'm very used to trolls and negative comments and really good at blocking and deleting. But, after 3 different platforms get shut down, Telegram, Instagram, and my old Facebook account, and kind of building and just, I don't know, just seeing what's going on in the world and just living it just like everybody else. I mean, feeling the empathic, like, insanity of it all. Like, I feel so deeply for people that have lost their businesses, or, are dealing with some of the family struggles. I'm certainly dealing with some myself. And I feel like the awakening is not just understanding the deep state tactics. It's not just about understanding what we're really made of. It's about embodying it and really living it, and holding a frequency and an energy that uplifts people, that shows support and love. Like, I had a difficult time. I did an interview yesterday. I thought the camera was off me, and I'm kind of, animated. Lee McCloskey's like one of my favorite people in the world, and house guests and kids and all this kind of stuff going on. And man, if I thought that I was on camera, I would have, kept still. So I understand, that deserves a bit of criticism, but it almost felt like it went a little bit too far. And these people don't have enough information to try and diagnose or like tell others or myself or whoever what their take is. And that's fine. It did hit a bit of a nerve because I already felt uncomfortable about it. But it's like, I've been doing this for like 10 years, and it's very rare that, first off, I miss an interview. Second off, that I don't present myself maybe as professional as what somebody would deem to be acceptable as a professional kind of person. And okay, I talk fast, this and that. So when people say, oh, you're on drugs and alcohol, it's like, I've been hearing that my whole life. And my parents never did drugs. And even if they did, whatever. But I've been hearing that since I was a little kid from older people like, man, your mom must have had a hit of acid before she can see during conception, which is fine. Sort of a twisted compliment. But I've always kind of like rubbed people in a weird way due to whatever. Downloads, just my willingness to be authentic, even if it makes me look bad. I mean, I don't know. So I just feel like if we don't turn things around and come together with greater compassion and love and respect, I mean, that's to me the root of it. The conquer and divide and the lack of respect. It's very easy to just write whatever you want to write, but it's like, what are you doing? You're just maybe sitting there. And if you actually do have a strong mission, then you should understand how difficult it is to be constantly targeted. And the empathic overload is so overwhelming. There's dealing with things on a personal life level, right?
Right.
And then feeling the empathic sensitivity and frustration and sadness connected to what we're seeing in the collective, especially if we've been mission orientated for a long time. And I have been since childhood. So, these are sort of devastating times. It doesn't mean I buy into doom or gloom, but it'd be nice, and I do have a lot of friends and support, and I'm so grateful. And I just want to, make sure people know that I feel that and I appreciate it. But this is not the time to, act in
shots
sort of way. And it's like, I just have to let go and detach. It's like, yeah, maybe it could have gone better. We're doing something live. Most people would be able to edit and then like put it out there if they, screwed up. So people are way more flawed and screwed up than people realize. But there's editing, there's Photoshop, there's ways to correct that. But at the same time, I don't buy into the whole, oh, that's flawed and that's unfortunate or that's negative. I see beauty in the flaws. I see beauty in the rawness. So, I mean, everybody needs to or not everybody, but certain individuals need to let go of being sort of addicted to the illusion and kind of sitting back and allowing themselves to sort of live through these characters that are very satanic. I mean, when you look at it, the woman of the year is this Cardi B person, and literally it's soft pornography, the stuff that she's sharing, and the Satan shoes. And I mean, the list is so long as far as like these horrific, offensive, like sort of things that a deeply sensitive person like me and you and others are not just going to be able to be like, oh, well, it's just a part of the Great Awakening. It's like, no, I'm sorry. We need to stand up and be pissed off and not judge the anger and reaction to the most horrific BS we've ever seen. And I don't care to judge the fact that I'm emotional. I'm not always appearing to be like totally balanced, but my heart's in the right place. And I feel like this is reasonable things to be pissed off at, Oh,
I do know. Too much. So, and I think a lot of people who are watching and who will watch in the future are going through their version, whether it's like a spouse or children or their parents. I'm hearing people, a lot of division within families and with, businesses. And, a lot of it is stemming with like just comments or things on social media or being able to say what you feel on social media, and then someone reading that and being upset about it, or saying something, or talking about it at dinner, or, you know, there's just a lot. And I've been in those situations too, where I've been live and, you know, there's been confrontation, or someone used my platform to trash another person or whatever. I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, that's just not what I'm about. And I don't want to have division, because what happens is, and you and I know, when there's any kind of stuff where there's conflict, even between people who are on the same platform, the comments end up being like, oh, good for you, and good for you, and, you know, and way to go, and they're a terrible person, and then they're not, and then they're talking amongst each other in the comments, which is fine, but they're losing complete focus on the actual message that's being shared. And so I personally don't like having people on the show that are going to be confrontational, or going to be, you know, outing someone else or whatever. Right now, today specifically, there are a couple people who like put all these names out and said all these things, and, you know, posted some stuff on Instagram about a lot of people that we've had on. And you know what? We're all asking questions. Everyone is asking questions. Everyone, at least I think, and everyone that I'm talking to, and I think you are too, Laura, we're all asking, like, what's going on? And we're all trying to navigate through where we're at and what we're doing. And with all the issues that we have on personally, I mean, my dog died, had a kidney thing, you know, stuff is going on, and yet we're still plugging away and doing what we can. And then have, you know, so I would never get on. I would like to say that I would never get on and just like out somebody or trash someone. And I've even had people in comments and other interviews, and they're like, well, what about this person? Or what about this person? And it's like, or where is this person? And I'm like, that is not a public discussion. You know, I love people too much to get into, you know, the nitty gritty of what someone is or isn't, or what they're doing or they're not doing, or why I'm doing what I'm doing. And, you know, unsolicited judgments or assumptions or ideas about what they think is going on is just completely not anybody's business. And it sucks, but it you know, it is what it is. And I guess people are inquisitive and curious, and I understand that part, but I don't understand the accusations or the assumptions or just the ridicule or the criticism, or just being straight up bitchy or unkind for why, you know. It doesn't help the situation.
Nope. Yep. And it's too much drama, and there's something, you know, in the brain chemistry that literally gets addicted to the drama. And even when things are good, it's like, wow, you're inventing a problem out of thin air and dragging people into a drama that doesn't even need to be there. What is up with that? I don't know. It's really disappointing. But you know, I'm just looking also at myself, like, okay, am I getting yanked in, and am I like
participating, getting baited?
I did for a very brief time with individuals I don't need to name. I didn't, you know, smear them. There was something that did become public, and like one post I did that I immediately took down, and it was like so not me, but it was almost like an act of desperation. It was just like, this is so whacked, and all the associations people are putting on me because I have done events with these individuals or whatever, you know, I kind of needed to just like say something. Probably didn't say it as well as I could have, and I retracted, and I did a public apology, and in a 10-year span, it was like literally just a very, very small period, and I felt terrible about it. But some people like literally thrive on it, and that's what's so difficult, because it's like, aren't we trying to avoid this? I mean, I don't want to assume that people think the way that I do. And I'm not trying to say, oh, well, I take the higher road and I'm so much better. But it's like, I just wish we understood, you know, as a community, large community that's not limited to, disclosure, ascension kind of topics, but as a global, you know, community, how can we rehabilitate and hold each other's hands and give each other hugs instead of throw each other under a bus because we're waiting to see their next mistake or flaw? It's like, it's so not healing. And we have the power as humans to take an approach that absolutely like can shift the whole nature of what we're seeing in the here and now. And it's getting to a point, I'm not like giving up or like going to stop, you know, doing this sort of mission, even though I'm like calling in the motherships, like, all right, enough already. But it's, what does it take? You know? So I am learning to treat myself better and be a healthier person, just like anyone. I have a big knowledge base in herbs and supplements and have a background in wilderness education and expedition leadership. I know how to do that. But it's like very easy to start to go into negative patterns, you know, when you don't feel others are on board or you're feeling, you know, under attack. And so, yeah, I can admit that I struggle with that. Even though I'm used to it, it's like enough already. I mean, it has nothing to do with me personally. It's seeing it happen to others. It's not about me. It's like just seeing it in general. It's just like just want to like smack people. But they're wearing them well, I don't want to smack anybody, but it's sort of like we're moving beyond all of this and we're trying to gather as many together as possible. Not because we have all the answers. We're helping them to be sovereign and to find their own truth. But there's major bifurcation happening right now. And I'm feeling the emotional sorrow of having to say goodbye to some people that I know aren't going to give this kind of information the time of day. So that's what I've been going through. I'm like literally mourning. I've been crying nonstop. I'm letting go of family and friends. And I know others are too. So let's help each other get through this very difficult passage. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. And I'm looking at some of the comments here and people are saying that this is the second interview that they have seen with this conversation, which is interesting. I have another one that I put up that said something. Let's see what else. Where did she go? I'm going back here. Someone said they just need to chill the hell out. One person was saying we all need to support each other right now. Stardust is saying that. That's kind of what you were saying. But yeah, I posted up a couple of the things that people were saying because yeah, I didn't know that anyone else who had already talked about this today. I mean, I'm sure people are all over the world, to be honest, but I would be curious to know who was already doing this or did something on it. But, you know, so it must be in the air, obviously, and that people are just kind of feeling it. And we're not the only ones. It's kind of good to know.
Yeah, well, the sun conjunct Chiron and Venus in Aries with the full moon in Libra. Sorry, I'll just say that. So,
and to be clear, because some of the people who are in my audience, this is like super new to them. And, but what I've been studying because of you, because you inspire me so much, is that the actual planets, not only when we're born and have our own specific genetics and DNA, but then there's also like the connection to the Earth. And then there's the way that certain planets are. The dust does actually affect the ether of the beings on the planet. Like there's a physical science to this. And, you know, coming a little bit of, you know, I had a little window where I was doing ministry and it was serving in churches for a while. And that was considered like a big no-no. And, you know, and then, but I'm also a geek and a scientist, you know, I'm a naturopath. So of course I'm going to dig in and I don't care if a building says that this is wrong or a religion says this is wrong. What's the truth is still the truth, no matter what anyone's opinion is or what their religion is. You can't make the truth be different like it is. So it's science and it's real science. So are you saying there's actually something going on? You mentioned Chiron, like explain that a little bit. Like you think that this could be just a reaction in that of whatever's happening?
Well, I think, yeah, this has definitely been the theme that people have been feeling into a lot lately. The bigger theme, though, is the Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter conjunctions that we've been dealing with since last year, which this whole plan, I didn't even want to even use a word for it. I'm like, But it's like we're going through this huge transformation process as a humanity. And many people are kind of stuck in the birth canal and choosing fear or just compliancy. I mean, it's hard to rebel if the ramifications are, oh, well, you're going to lose your job and you won't be able to feed your kids if you're, dealing with, children. So, I mean, I'm trying to focus on how can we help people transition out of that, and what can we build within and amongst ourselves, so that we starve that system that is literally taking advantage of intelligent minds and well-intentioned people that have gotten these educations and gotten these careers that are literally being, manipulated and threatened through this sort of fear tactic. So this greater transformation, though, when people can kind of move through that and go beyond it, is birthing this new world. I mean, this ascension energy is very much based in these, alignments and what has been available. It's just, if we don't embrace these initiations and we give our power away and we're like, oh, okay, well, this is what this means, when actually nothing to do with this. It's literally like capturing and courting the lower mental energies. It infects the creative channels, and it puts a person in a lower emotional state where they're going to fight for something that is really illegitimate and begin to be even more dualistic than maybe what they were. I mean, these things have always been there, but now it's like coming up to the surface. And I don't want to say anything like weird, like a zit popping, more like a splinter coming up. So now that the splinter's coming out, people are making a choice. Like, okay, now that we see this, what are we going to do? And that's kind of creating that, separating the wheat from the shaft and this sort of bifurcation. But this current energy with the sun in Aries conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer, is all about childhood wounds, injuries, illness, and literally some of the harshest things that we deal with as humans. Chiron also gives us knowledge. So the greatest healers and people that have a lot of wisdom and knowledge to share tend to have a lot of strong Chiron energy in their charts, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily feel like they are healed, right? So there's a lot of wounded healers. It's the wounded healer, where they can help people all the time, but they still struggle with being able to help themselves. And it's not that they're not walking the talk. It's just they identify with the problem that they're here to help heal and solve so much that it doesn't really leave them alone, because it's going to constantly give them like more downloads and more information to be able to be of service in that kind of way. So the sun in Aries conjunct Chiron, Aries being ruled by Mars, has a lot to do with our ego identity. Who are we? And what do we feel about ourselves? And what is the health of our self-esteem? And then you put Venus in the mix, opposite full moon in Libra, which is all about partnerships and relationships. A lot of stuff is coming to the surface about how do we feel about ourselves in partnership? Are we with the right people? How do they make us feel? And what are we, kind of contributing to the connection? So these kind of themes are coming up, and it's all part of this greater transformation, because really, if we're going to unscramble our fire codes, we need to understand that it's a love story. It's sacred union. It's alchemical marriage, and it goes into the hierogamic union. Then it begins to bring in the, Christos plasmic, like light field energies that upgrade our DNA. So in order for us to ascend, we have to divorce ourselves from all imposters and all the toxicity and all the false belief systems. We haven't failed. We're not like screwed, but we need to take it upon ourselves to be like, whoa, I need to build extra spiritual muscles in the face of this BS. Absolute bullshit, right?
Yeah, and I like how you're choosing consciously the initiation word versus saying like a challenge or the hard part is, or you know what I mean? Initiation makes it sound like an invitation, an opportunity, like here's your moment, guys, because champions are not born in the ring. They're created there. And we get to do this when we do it. But if you could just sit back and go like, oh, everything's happening to me and I'm a victim, cancel clear, and look at all the challenges and this is so hard, cancel clear. It's like, but I love your terminology of, it's inspiring to think of it that way. It gives a different framework to think that we are in a transformation process, that this is an opportunity, that this is an invitation, that we are in a cocoon. But I like how you said the muscle thing too. That's so good, because how do we get stronger is we have to physically do something to practice and like get in motion to build those muscles. And that's how we get stronger. And even with like any topic on the planet right now, whether it's the mask stuff or all the other things, like how do you get more confident? You just start saying no, or you start saying yes, or you start keeping those boundaries or whatever the situation is. And then the second time is not so hard. And then the third time is not so hard. I mean, whenever I walked into a store and didn't have a mask, I was like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. And then the third, fourth, it's like, now I'm just like, I don't even think about it. I don't think whatever, but it took that practice. And then I still see people are like, well, we don't do it because we have a mandate. I'm like, I have a mandate too, but I guess I'm more confident because I've practiced. And so you fill in the blank of what your version is, whether it's like saying no to go to soccer with the soccer moms, or I don't know, addictions, or living out whatever partnership you have where you have to put your foot down with something. But we get, even though there's situations with the planets, and even though we have that DNA and that opportunity in the DNA, there's still will involved. There's still choice. Yeah. And our willpower is, we are strong human beings. We are victorious, but only when we are, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the beauty of like the Mars energy and a lot of exposure about like what's happening on the planet Mars. I mean, the thing is, it's like there's the secret space programs and all the multi-levels of these, different programs. But at the same time, when we look at the planets, they connect with our organs, our chakra system, our DNA. So as much as we might, wonder if there's life out there, or try and wrap our head around the whole ET thing or ufology or life on Mars. And I mean, that's to people like us, like, well, come on, of course. There's major life out there, and we're multidimensional beings. And, as we begin to connect with those multidimensional aspects of ourself, we are more than likely going to have contact or some sort of experience that shifts the nature of reality, because reality is fluid. It requires our mental energy and our belief systems to generate how we experience it. And we could, be given the same sort of script and experience it in very different ways, depending on where we are in our consciousness. But I totally went off on a tangent. I was going to say something completely different. Can you just take me back? Because I know it was... I
was just talking about the spirit, basically spiritual hygiene, but also spiritual practice, like gaining that confidence through practice over and over again.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, we understand it in the physical plane when we look at the physical body, when we look at what it means to maintain a healthy kitchen, bathroom, bedroom. We don't want germs and rats and mice to come and invade because we're not cleaning up after ourselves, right? So when we have an experience or we're relating to somebody and we hold on to it and we harbor it and we internalize it, we don't find a release valve, or we don't find the boundary or ability to speak our truth when we need to speak it. I mean, to me, that's the root of, a lot of disease. So that level of hygiene is just like accepting it without, rebellion can only go so far. It gets really exhausting. It's like you can say, oh, I don't agree, and like, screw this. But we have to work with these energetics, like the law of structure that comes with the planet Saturn. But we need to work with it in a way that is more on our own terms. So if we're dealing with tyrannical authority, or if we are raised with abusive authority through however we were raised, or the school systems or whatever, or the kind of like manipulative authority where you don't realize how abusive it is until later, because it basically is rewritten history and it's wiped out a lot of important stuff, and it's just kind of passed down. So it's not necessarily the fault of the teacher. But when we start to raise our vibration to the thing that we don't like, if we're rebellious types like authority, we still need to work with the law of structure. So it's like, okay, well, what kind of structure actually works with us and helps us to thrive?
Exactly. And everyone's different, right?
Yeah. Because we're either going to be oppressed and repressed and enslaved, or we're going to take that same energy and be like, okay, well, we can't get rid of this particular planet or this particular dynamic between the moon and Saturn, but we can raise the vibration to higher octaves of what it really represents, because the lower aspects keep us in this kind of stuck in the 3D scrambled fire codes, junk DNA. When we embrace it, we actually can take that structure of authority and realize that it really rules the skeletal system and teeth and bones and things that are really solid and, you know, physical. And we can take that moon energy that has that artificial component, we can raise its vibration to refusing to be, you know, undermined and manipulated and controlled, and actually change the dynamics within ourselves to produce that higher, more ascended reality. And when we look at it, you know, and how it affects our organs and our emotions and the way we relate to one another, it's actually not that difficult to rise above it. So we can talk about these like dark technologies and be like, oh, geez, that sounds terrible. But when we realize, well, it's actually hooked into us, it's feeding off of us, it's stealing our life force, it's siphoning from us, how do we cut the cord so we can experience true love? That's when we start to unscramble the fire codes, because basically humanity is stuck in a horrible relationship dynamic. It's like being married to a narcissist control freak, you know, on a sort of societal level with these, you know, kind of hidden agendas that feed off of the compliancy and the acceptance of it and the normalization of it. And that's why I think a lot of us are getting really angry right now, because it's like, F off, ain't gonna go there. We were never made of this kind of stuff to begin with. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's like we're going through a massive divorce on a humanity level, and they're seeking like the worst kind of child support. It's like with the masks and all these other rules, it's like they're not letting us go very easily. So it's almost like we're in divorce court with the biggest a-hole ever. And they're not going to let us go very easily. And it's sort of like those stories that one hears. And I know, you know, we have these kind of stories where it's like, gosh, it's really difficult to get rid of that ex or to overcome it. So I have a lot of compassion for what humanity is going through, but we have to realize that once you rip off the mask and you begin to really see what and who you are beyond the veil, this is a great reunion and something to celebrate. I mean, these are amazing times. Very painful, though, to see that people don't see that or understand this stellar activation cycle and ascension window period. But, you know, I'm just going to keep encouraging people to celebrate. I'm going to cry when I need to cry. I'm going to be a flawed person. Take the criticism. I don't give a shit. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but
no, it's okay. And you know, I did a video, I think a week or two ago, about conscious uncoupling in the United States. And I was just going on a rant and basically saying, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just decide in a healthy way, like, you know what, you go over there and we'll go over here and you can do all your weird stuff. And we're just going to go over here without our masks and our chemtrails, and we're going to have really good food and normal things. And you know, and it, you know, you take California or whatever, I don't know how it would all be divided, but you know, we know that there's people who've gotten divorces and it's been very, very healthy, right? You can actually just, you know, it's all about the kids and let's just focus on the kids and let's, you know, but in the end, what I realized of just like looking at the comments and whatever, there's no way in hell that anyone would let us go and just do our own thing. They would be, you know, still zooming over our territory with chemtrails or trying to infiltrate or do whatever, because they've had us so long enslaved, and we have gotten so lulled into thinking, you know, whatever we're thinking through all the mockingbird and all the things that are happening in our food and our air and whatever. So I still believe that there are more of us than them. And I believe that we're more awake in them. And I also believe, going back with what you were saying, oh, look at this. This is on my, oh, can you see it? Oh,
we're born
for this. If you open it up, it says for this. And we are born for this. And I keep this like a reminder to go like, you know what? It doesn't matter if it's a full moon or whatever the situation. I mean, I totally agree with that whole ether thing. I worked in a psych hospital and I worked in cardiac rehab and different things. And when there was a moon, that was a full moon or whatever, we saw more crazy shit happening and things were all wacko. So we know that there's actually something to the planets and stuff. Yeah. And I know like parasite cleanses can be more fruitful if you do them this time, or liver cleanses can this time because of way different whatever. And, you know, there's so much science and real things to it. And that's why everyone needs to get to your class and your seminar on Sunday and really learn more. But yeah, we are in this uncomfortable season of, you know, not only personal boundaries and new life choices, and like really figuring out like what's on the plate that needs to come off, and maybe new things need to come on, and kind of a shuffling of relationships and ideas and cutting the cords. But we're also doing this on this mass collective too. And all I want to say is, just be kind to one another in the process, because you don't know what your neighbor is going through. You don't know what some Hollywood person's going through, or some political person's going through, or some YouTuber influencer is going through. And where everyone is where they're at, and everyone's just doing the best they can. I do 100% believe that there are people out there who are purposely, maliciously trying to steer people in the wrong direction, or just assholes and crazies, whether they're influencers or not. But at the heart of most people, there are pure, loving people who are just doing their best, some to just survive right now, in the middle of it, let alone thrive. So I'm just asking people to just be more kind and be more aware that you out there can be the radiant light wherever you go, and you can ignite Christ and love and everyone that you touch. And if you have that mindset in your head and in your heart, even before you go out on the day, or you get on social media, or you go anywhere, I ignite Christ in everyone I contact, and see yourself blasting people with love and beauty and light. And when you post with words that are beautiful, or take a day off and go somewhere to defrag, and try to transmute that. I have a friend of mine, Olivia, in California right now, and she knows exactly what to say. And she texted me and she's like, what's wrong with you? You got this.
I'm
is
still
victory.
here. Just keep talking. I'm still here. Just hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
Keep talking.
Yes. And she's like, you got this, you're victorious, whatever. And then I just put like, I period, love period, you period. And like when I write, like, I mean every vowel, every consonant, like I embody, with intention and with energy, love, and I feel people too. And so I think that we're just in this like critical time of, yes, this cocoon that's opening for us to really, use our muscles to get out of the cocoon, or like a baby egg. I know you just got chickens. It's like when those chickens hatch, if you go over and you just mash the egg and help them out, then they're not going to be strong enough to do all the things that they got to do. And I feel like we're in this place where we're the butterfly, or we're the baby eggs. And it's like so freaking uncomfortable and difficult, and like, the weather, and not really, but, just, all the things that could be, environmental, that are issues, are still giving us that initiation. They're still giving us that opportunity and availability to stretch our muscles, and to hygiene, physically, mentally, spiritually, defrag. I'm cleaning my house. I'm getting rid of shit. I'm doing anything that I can energetically, just to like somehow make more space for better things, good things, happy things. I'm saging, I'm magnesium bathing. I'm in the middle of a 3rd day on a liver cleanse. I'm working through even my lymph system and building my immunity. Like, this is not a time to trash your body, with what's going on out there. Like, we have got to just, sad or upset or emotional or whatever, like, let's be the eagle that takes the wind, or the kite, that just uses the air in our positive way to go higher, instead of just to crash and burn,
Oh, totally.
I hope that makes sense. I'm just rambling.
Absolutely. I mean, gosh, you speak so refreshing and wonderful to talk to you. And yeah, totally. I mean, that's where my focus is just nature, and just
nature.
Eagles I've seen lately, and just, and where it brings me back to recovering from being raised in Washington, D.C., even though I lived in other places. I was born in England, but it's just, going into the wilderness and all the things that I thought were screwed up about me, or, oh, well, I had the worst attendance in high school and I failed all these things, to get the top scores and to like be like thriving. I was like, this is where it's at for me. And it wasn't so much about like, oh, I'm going to take people now on wilderness expeditions, even though I was qualified and I have certificates and degrees to be able to do that. I'm like, no, I know that this is helping me to face something that's going to come down the pike later on. And it helped me to detox from, just the DC thing. And really also connect with like the spirit of Eisenhower without the weirdness of politics and government, because we have to remember that some of these people in these positions aren't just like puppets, they actually really care. And I know we could go into like the last administration, but I know you got to go and get on this next call, which I can't wait to listen to. You're talking to Juan O'Savin next, right?
Yes. But I get what you're saying about expectation. I just had a situation where somebody was supposed to be an appointment and I wanted it to be sort of anonymous. And they ended up like ghosting me in this appointment. And, I was just thinking, you know what? They totally screwed up. And, just whatever. And then I think they actually found out that it was me. And then they came back and they were like personally called me and were so apologetic and whatever. And I hate that I was sitting here thinking, I bet they found out who I am and they're just like trying to fix it now. And they probably maybe wouldn't have done that with someone else, or that I even have to think that there's expectations of who we're supposed to be or what we're supposed to be doing, whether it's this way or that way on the thing, or just all the things that come with being in the public eye. Or some people will make a comment or whatever. And I'm like, that wasn't really nice or whatever. And they're like, well, you are in the public. And it's like, that doesn't give you the right to be an asshole. It's like, well, you should, if you're public, then you should be able to take all of that and whatever. Or some people asking questions that are just not any of your damn business. It's like, it's actually not your business. And they're like, oh, well, but you're in the public, so we should be able to. It's like, no, really, I don't have to explain it to you. I don't have to tell you anything. Like, I don't know. There's something, and probably all of you go through that. There's a lot of you guys watching, and you have your version. And this is where we ought to just get clean with, being honest and standing up for ourselves and be loving, but be firm and be like, you know what? I'm sorry, block or delete, or just, I don't owe you anything. You're not, this entitlement thing is just ridiculous. I should be able to blah, blah. It's like, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to be a jerk,
When it doesn't feel right, one has to honor their boundaries, and the whole like kind of joining something or fitting into something or doing something that others are instructing you to do that cuts us off from our intuition and our greater knowingness of like where we need to draw the line, to be our own sovereign self, is very difficult, for people to gravitate towards. They're like, oh no, well, I might not be liked, or this will happen if I don't do this, or I need to drop my energy and vibration and engage in this. It's like, no, when no feels like no, it's better to just go for it. And you can always come back around and be like, okay, maybe I was paranoid, this or that, but we need to be on guard, and this whole kind of love and light thing, I think sometimes gets really abused. It's just like, well, excuse me. It's
like, where's the love and light on the other side, right? But that's where we got to go back to as leaders, as parents, as, whatever position you are, you guys. She mentioned nature. I know that she has a huge background. I'd love to get on a just a specific call about nature, and we can have a whole conversation about that. But I've been watching all these documentaries about earthing, and, like just 20 minutes before and after of being barefoot in the earth, you can watch live blood go from being like sticky and not working to completely opening up and moving and being like it's supposed to, all happy. And also, if you have like cortisols or any chemistry stuff that should not be going the way it is, or dopamine, or all the stuff that is like extra estrogen, you can just lay on the grass or whatever, and like the earth just like sucks it out, and you just like detox it. And I'm like, wow, this is so fascinating how God has created this amazing nature for us, whether it's herbs or oils or the actual physical ground. I know your husband's all into stuff like that too, and mine is just, he came home with all this tea and like medicine tea, and he's making me some beautiful tea for different things, and he got a medicine book on all the different teas and stuff, and I'm like, so these are great things that you guys can maybe jump into, and maybe we can have a future conversation about that specifically and how to help people, maybe be trained a little bit more and our options outside of, the side effecty kind of stuff, but you are amazing.
Oh.
And tell everybody one more time, give me the link too, and I'll post it, but tell everyone it's Sunday at what time?
12 p.m. Pacific time, and it's 3 hours, and it's on my website, cosmicgaia.org. And it's just a nature pick. If you click onto the picture, it'll take you to the event page and you can register. And for anybody who's listening, you can use the discount coupon code PTA25. That'll give you 25% off. So
PTA25. What is
yeah,
that?
lowercase. It stands for Portal to Ascension, who's hosting it. So.
Portal to Ascension. I love it. Awesome. And okay. And
I love you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love hearing everything you share, and I look forward to doing more with you.
Yes. And you can sign up for her newsletter by going there too. Make sure and get connected. She has a channel. I mean, she's always doing panels and interviews, and you guys I'll send you all the links. I'll put them in here so you guys can connect with her further. I have another interview in a minute with Wolverton-Sehon. That's going to be fun. And in the meantime, too, you guys go to swiftfire.org. If you don't mind, go to swiftfire.org and get on my newsletter. So whatever the situation is and whatever I'm doing, and whether I'm on or off or on a different channel or trying to figure out how to do this like censorship thing, that you guys are up to date on who's coming and where I'm going to be to make sure we can get this information out. So swiftfire.org. And I'm on Telegram, Facebook, and all that. But I will see some of you in the next 10 minutes with Juan. And I just love you so much, Laura. I'm so glad you're in my life. And I know you've been such an inspiration so many years being out in the field, drudging away no matter what the situation, and just being light and love. And I know all you guys send her tons of love to her and her family and everything that she's doing in her class on Sunday. And do keep all of us, in prayer, and we are praying for all of you too, because we know you guys have your plates full of all your own version of things. And we are very aware of that. We know, we hear your stories. I get your emails. I get your comments. I see what you're going through. I do consultations, and she does too. And we hear these, terrible things that you guys are going through, and it's tough times. And we love you so much, and we're rooting for you. We love you, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, because we love you. And so you guys hang in there. I'll talk soon, Laura. All right.
Great.
Have a good one. Happy Resurrection Weekend.
Right.
Let's resurrect. All right. Bye-bye.